Hey everyone, the major news networks are about to do something so shady, we felt we had to talk about it. On the evening of Tuesday, June 7th, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, when the polls close in New Jersey, they will declare that Hillary Clinton is the Democratic nominee for president. Now, there are two pretty big problems with them doing this. The first is that 8 p.m. Eastern Time is only 5 p.m. Pacific Time. So the people still voting in California will have an additional 3 hours to vote after this declaration has been made. How do we know they're going to do this? Well, here's Chris Matthews from MSNBC saying just that, and not only that, but he also thinks it will negatively affect voter turnout.
I'm told by the experts on numbers around here at NBC and elsewhere that come June 7th, the day of the California primary, which your candidate, I totally understand, wants to get to and maybe have a chance of knocking off Hillary at that event, a big last hurrah, that at 8 o'clock that night Eastern Time, the networks will be prepared, including this one, to announce that Hillary Clinton has now gotten over the top, that she will have won the nomination in numbers. It's done. What will that do to turnout if that's 5 o'clock Pacific Time with 3 more hours to vote in California? Who will be least likely to vote? Sanders people from 5 to 8 people or Hillary? I've heard both theories.
So other than a little voter suppression, what's wrong with them making the announcement at that time? Well, it turns out it's complete bullshit. To clinch the nomination, a nominee needs to get 2,383 delegates. As of Friday, June 3rd, Hillary Clinton had 1,769, Bernie Sanders 1,501. Remember, pledged delegates are the results of the voting that took place in the primaries and the caucuses. In the upcoming contests, 906 pledged delegates remain up for grabs. So let's be really generous to Hillary Clinton and say she manages to split all of the remaining delegates with Bernie Sanders. In that scenario, Hillary Clinton ends up with 2,222 pledged delegates, Bernie Sanders 1,954. In that case, she is still over 150 delegates away from reaching the magic number. So why are the news networks saying Hillary Clinton has won if she does not have the required number of delegates? Well, they're also including in their tally something called superdelegates, and those are elected Democrats and other party insiders, aka the establishment. And over 500 of them have already pledged to support Hillary Clinton. So when these superdelegates are added to her pledged delegates, it does seem that perhaps, maybe she has a claim to winning. However, the key fact that seems to be missed in all of this is that the superdelegates do not vote until the Democratic Convention, July 25th, 2016, over 6 weeks away, not a day before, and they can change their minds at any time. Here's the Democratic Communications Director telling Jake Tapper of CNN that superdelegates should not be included in the counts for this very reason.
Superdelegates, I think one of the problems is the way the media reports it. Any night that you have a primary or caucus, the media lumps in superdelegates that they've basically polled because they just call them up and say, who are you supporting? They don't actually vote until the convention, and so they shouldn't be included in any count on primary or caucus night because the only thing you're picking on primary and caucus nights are the pledged delegates based on the vote.
But what about when we do our totals? You think it's okay to include?
Not yet, because they're not actually voting, and they're likely to change their minds. You look at 2008, and what happened then was there was all this assumption about what superdelegates were going to do, and many of them did change their mind.
The point of the superdelegates is very simple. It is their job to make sure a weak nominee does not go forward into the general election. And that's why in 2008, many of them jumped from Clintonship, recognizing the power and enthusiasm that Obama's campaign had. What the news is reporting is essentially a poll of superdelegates as to how they are likely to vote come late July. Remember, over 400 of these superdelegates pledged their support to Clinton before any other presidential candidate was in the race. But for argument's sake, let's say despite everything that's happened over the past year, the superdelegates still feel very comfortable with their choice of Clinton. Are there any circumstances under which they would change their vote? Could this happen again? Here are 3 reasons why it could. 1. Bernie has consistently done much better than Hillary against Donald Trump in virtually every poll. In fact, she is actually losing some key swing states to Trump. which would be a nightmare for the party. When this is combined with her record-breaking unfavorable numbers, it's hard to argue that Hillary is not the weaker choice for the Democratic Party. Number 2, the momentum. Bernie Sanders has been greeted like a rock star up and down the coast of California and across the country. If you had to pick a candidate who is most likely to expand the base of the party and keep the momentum going forward into the general election, you'd be hard-pressed not to say Bernie Sanders is the obvious choice. Now, imagine he wins California, the largest state in the country. Realistically, that should be enough. He is the better polling candidate who has constantly managed to draw more enthusiasm month after month, day after day, and he is extremely popular with independent voters. Number 3, it is very likely that Hillary, thanks to her good friends at the FBI, will be indicted sooner or later. And if you don't think that's the case, you would need to explain to me why her IT specialist who ran her homebrew server has now been granted immunity. He's going to be testifying against someone. And why the hacker who accessed her server was given a very strange extradition and plea deal. Superdelegates are surely not willing to risk the presidency on a weak candidate facing criminal charges. The Clinton Foundation itself could also be wrapped up in this mess. So on Tuesday night, when the media makes this announcement, just remember many of them directly contribute money to Hillary Clinton's campaign. There will be no winner until the superdelegates vote in late July, and it is likely anything can and will happen between now and then. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And in the meantime, go out and vote.